guys, welcome to that first rep. In today's video, I want to teach you guys how to get your first handstand. Let's get to it. Alright guys, when it comes to the handstand, the main factor is fear. I remember a few years ago when I actually started learning the handstand, I was actually scared to death to actually fall flat onto my face. So the first thing we need to the first hurdle, the first wall we need to break is that fear factor. So the first progression I got for you guys today is to actually start kicking up on a wall. You can actually use a wall or use someone as an assistance, but I would rather recommend to use a wall to start with. So just kick up, feel that move, feel how it feels to have your head upside down and your legs up in the air, to really relax and then get into the motions. So once you're really comfortable with kicking up on the wall, you want to actually step away from the wall. I wouldn't recommend spending too much time on the wall because then you become too used to it. So in the next progression, you actually want to go onto the parallettes, which is quite interesting to use the parallettes because then you got more control in a handstand. It's easy on the wrists as well. So that's really something I would recommend to start with before getting down to the floor. And you want to start kicking up. Obviously now you have to be very careful because there's no wall to actually save you in case of any fall. And you want to start kicking up slowly. The form and the technique doesn't matter at this point. It's just a matter of getting used to kicking up without having any assistance and then getting used to actually shifting the weight back and forth. So you don't have to kick up necessarily very, very high, but just kick up and get used to that movement. Now the next progression is to start controlling the kick ups. So you want to start kicking up but slowly slowing down the movement so that when you get all the way up to the top, you can hold it there, or you can just try and get to that point where you get nearly there and come back down and repeat the process on and so on and so forth until you get to that point where you can actually hold the handstand. Now, once you're very comfortable with the kick-ups and controlling that movement of the handstand, I want you to actually do what we call handstand reps. So you're going to be repping handstands and come back down. In that very particular movement, you need to focus on making sure that you get that handstand for 1 second, you hold it there, and then you can come back down. So it's not so much more about kicking up at this point, it's about actually holding the handstand, no matter how long you can hold it for, and then come back down. So once you're very comfortable with the handstand reps, I want to talk to you about the do's and don'ts. So when it comes to handstands, you want to make sure that when you stand on the parallettes, is shoulder width apart. You don't want to go too wide because the wider your grip is, then the harder it's going to be to actually hold the handstand because they require more strength and more mobility in your shoulders. When you start kicking up, I see many beginners that start onto the handstand journey that actually start kicking up with their hands in the air. You actually want to start with your hands on the floor because by having your hands in the air, you're going to actually create a lot more power, a lot more momentum, and that's going to be a lot harder for you to control the handstand movement. So really start slowly with your hands on the floor, one leg in front of the other. I like to actually start kicking up with my right foot, some other like with the left one. It's really up to you and which foot you feel most comfortable using. The last do's and don'ts is how you're using your hands on the floor to actually balance out the handstand and your position in the air. So when you're using parallettes, you can actually drive that movement. So if you're going forward, you can actually press onto the parallette to actually balance it out. And if you're going backwards, you can actually pull on the parallette the other way. So if you watch what I'm doing, if I'm going forward, I'll be pressing the parallette forward there, and if I'm going backwards, I'm going to be pushing the parallette down there. So it's about really driving your balance from the parallettes. And if you're on the floor with your hands directly in touch with the ground, then you can use your fingertips to actually grab onto the floor and then slowly and correct your balance as you move along. So that's pretty much it for how to get your handstand. Hope you found that video very useful. If you got any questions, please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And until then, peace guys.